Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So Dandavat pranams to all the devotees. Thank you for joining in. There is some Wi-Fi issue at home. I've connected through data. So we'll see. I hope I'm audible. You can all give me a thumbs up if I'm audible properly. Yeah, all right. Thank you. So we'll start with the prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Namo Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरवदुषे नमः जगद्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So Dandavat pranam to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in for the study session. We are on chapter number 10 of this book, The Path of Perfection. So most likely we will complete this book by tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we will start our next book, which is The Nectar of Instruction. So that is a plan. All right. So yesterday we were seeing how the differentiation between the material world and the spiritual world. We saw that in the material world, everything is destructible, and in the spiritual world, everything is indestructible. Everything is eternal. And then finally, Krishna says that abode of mind does not require sun or moon or electricity. Right? Natad bhasheti suryo na shashanko na pavakah yad gatvan nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Right? In that abode of mind, there is no need for sun or moon or this electricity, because everything gets illuminated by the splendor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like that. And then we also saw about this verse, Abhyakto Akshariti Yuktas Tam Ahu Paramam Gatim. Right? That supreme abode is unmanifested and is infallible, and it is a supreme destination. And Abhyakta, we saw, Abhyakta means what is not manifest to our eyes. It does not mean that it does not exist. We saw the example of a sun, right? Just because the sun sets doesn't mean the sun is not there anymore. Right? So the sun is there, but it is gone out of our vision. That's what it means. So it has become Avyakta. And the spiritual world is like that. It is becoming Avyakta, means it is becoming manifest from our eyes. But it is Akshara. It is Akshara means it is never annihilated. So, and Krishna is saying here, since the supreme abode is eternal, it is not also subject to the 6 transformations. Right? We saw how Dehinosmin Yata Dehe Tata Dehantara Praptir Dhirastatrana Muyati. Right? In this world, just like our material body undergoes the 6 kind of changes. We are born, we grow, and then we maintain ourselves, we produce byproducts, and then we become old, we dwindle, and we die. Similarly, what is our position as body? We are also undergoing the same things. What is that? Growing, maintaining, producing byproducts, and then dwindling and dying. These are the 6 changes that everything that is material goes through. And then we saw how the essential nature of the jiva is the consciousness, right? So when somebody asks, who are you, right? Generally, I've seen in one session where the person speaker is actually calling everybody and asking, right? What is this? Cheek. What is this? Show me your forehead. They show the forehead. Show me your cheeks. They show. Show me your nose. They show. And then they say, show me your soul. We don't know where it is, right? Somewhere in the heart area they show, right? So we are not this body, right? Where is our body? This is our body. This is our body. But who am I? I am the spirit soul. I am not this finger. I am not this body. I am not this hair. I am not this I'm not this various parts of the body. I am not this hand. I am not this leg. So who am I? I am a spiritual. I am spiritual, which means Aham Brahmasmi. That is the first step of understanding the Vedic knowledge. We also saw how when somebody passes away, we say that when somebody leaves the body, we say that he has gone away, he's passed away. So what has passed away? There's something which is spirit, which was permeating the body, because of which the body was performing various actions, moving, talking, etc. All that was possible only because of the soul, which was all pervading in the body. Right? Avinashi tu tadviddi yena sarvam idam tatam. Vinasham avyayasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Right? Where Prabhupada is talking about the soul, how the soul pervades the entire body by way of the consciousness. And nobody is able to destroy that imperishable soul. From here, let's continue reading. Let me share my screen. Yeah, anyone wants to read? Okay, Shobha Mataji, go ahead. Spiritual existence.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranamatavi, Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Spiritual existence is eternal, whereas the body is not. It is said that the spiritual atmosphere is avyakta, unmanifest. How then can it be manifest from us? Making the unmanifest manifest, it is this very process of Krishna consciousness. According to Padma Purana, Ata Shri Krishna Namati Na Bhavet Grahyam Indriyai सेवोन्मुखे हि जीवातौ स्वयं एव स्पृहति अतः. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their devotional loving service unto him. In this verse, the word indriya means the senses. We have 5 senses for gathering knowledge: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, and 5 senses for working: voice, hands, legs, genital, and anus. These 10 senses are under the control of the mind. It is stated in this verse that with these dull material senses we cannot understand. Can you raise, Mataji?
Can you see?
We cannot understand. Yeah, after that. Yeah, we cannot understand Krishna's name, form, and so forth. Why this? Why is this? Krishna is completely spiritual and he is also absolute. Therefore, his name, form, qualities, and paraphilias are also spiritual. Due to material conditioning or material bondage, we cannot presently understand what is spiritual. But this ignorance, Hare Krishna, can be removed by chanting Hare Krishna. If a man is sleeping, he can be awakened by sound vibration. You can call him, come on, it's time to get up. Although the person is unconscious, hearing is so prominent that even a sleeping man can be awakened by sound vibration. Similarly, overpowered by this material conditioning, our spiritual consciousness is presently sleeping, but it can be revived by the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mataji, I think we read all these things yesterday.
Yeah, we read it. Yeah, even I was thinking. Good, good. Repetition is good because I was coloring the pages, but the coloring is not shown. So yeah, when I was thinking, you just read it yesterday. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Okay. Therefore, when we chant Hare Krishna, we are praying, O Lord, O energy of the Lord, please accept me. We have no other prayer than please accept me. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that we should simply cry and pray that the Lord accepts us. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself prayed, Ayinandatanu Kinkaram पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुजौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिश्रतशं विचिन्तया. O Krishna, son of Nanda, somehow or other I have fallen into this version of nescience and ignorance. Please pick me up and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. If a man has fallen into the ocean, his only hope for survival is that someone comes to pick him up. He only has to be lifted 1 inch above the water in order to feel immediate relief. Similarly, as soon as we take to Krishna consciousness, we are lifted up and we feel immediate relief. We cannot doubt that the transcendental is there. Bhagavad Gita is being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Therefore, we should not doubt His words. The only problem is feeling and understanding what He is telling us. That understanding must be developed gradually, and that knowledge will be revealed by the chanting of Hare Krishna. By this simple process, we can come to understand the spiritual kingdom, the self, the material world, God, the nature of our conditioning, liberation from material bondage, and everything else. This is called Cheto Tarpanamachanam, cleansing the dusty mirror of the impure mind.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah, we discussed.
Dandavat.
Yeah, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So let us request Leela Nandini Mataji, go ahead. Whatever the case, we must have faith in the word of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Mataji.
Whatever the case, we must have faith in the word of Krishna. When we purchase a ticket on Pan America or Air India, we have that faith that company will take us to our destination. Faith is created because the company authorized. Our faith should be not blind. Therefore, we should accept that which is recognized. Bhagavad Gita has been recognized as authorized scripture in India for thousands of years, and even outside India, there are many scholars, religionists, and philosophers who have accepted Bhagavad Gita as authoritative. It is said that even such a great scientist as Albert Einstein was reading Bhagavad Gita regularly. So we should not doubt Bhagavad Gita's authenticity. Therefore, when Lord Sri Krishna says that there is a supreme abode and that we can go there, we should have faith that such an abode exists. Many philosophers think that the spiritual abode is impersonal or void. Impersonalists like the Sankarites and Buddhists generally Shankarites and Buddhists generally speak of the void or emptiness, but Bhagavad Gita does not disappoint us in this way. The philosophy of voidism has simply created atheism because it is the nature of the living entity to want enjoyment. As soon as he thinks that his future is void, he will try to enjoy the variedness of this material life. Thus, impersonalism leads to armchair philosophical discussions and attachment to material enjoyment. We may enjoy speculating, but no real spiritual benefit can be derived from such speculation. Bhakti parasunubhavo viraktir anyatra cha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.42. Once we have developed the devotional spirit, we will become immediately detached from all kinds of material enjoyment. As soon as a hungry man eats, he feels immediate satisfaction and says, "No, I don't want any more. I am satisfied." This satisfaction is a characteristic of the Krishna conscious man. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Sochati Na Kankshadi Sama Sarveshu Bhudeshu Mam Bhaktim Mad Bhaktim Labade Param. One who is just transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. As soon as one is
Hare
spiritual,
Krishna.
as Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Bol, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah. So yesterday we were discussing this point, right? We were talking about how a person who practices devotional service, automatically he finds bliss. Right? Just like a person, Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example here, how a person who's hungry, if he has a nice food stuff, he's automatically feeling full. He's automatically energized. It does not require any kind of confirmation from any other person. Similarly, as we are performing our devotional service, we should also feel that kind of bliss. We will feel that bliss only when we are devoid of all the tendencies of hankering and lamenting. That's why Prabhupada has quoted that verse here, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Right? Someone who is enjoying or someone who is deriving bliss from the practice of devotional service has already crossed the point where he laments or desires to have anything. Because the knowledge is very clear that I am the servant of the Lord. Whatever the Lord has provided, I will utilize that in the service of the Lord. I will not lament for anything that has been taken away by the Lord, nor will I desire for something that I don't have. Because the Lord is, in Isha Upanishad, first verse, we say, right? Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bunjita magrada kasya svidanam. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Everything is owned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Right? Everything manifest and unmanifest are controlled and owned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tena taktena jivita. Right? Whichever living entity have been allocated certain amount of wealth, certain amount of skill, certain amount of resources, one can utilize those things according to what has been allocated by the Lord. But magrida kasya svidanam, that means I'm not going to hanker behind what another person has, what I don't have. In that case, what happens? Such lamentation and desires in our heart will ensure that we don't develop the bliss for the particular devotional service. And also we were saying yesterday, we were talking about faith, right? Prabhupada is giving your example of how if we go with the Pan American or Air India, then what happens? We have to buy a ticket, but we don't do any kind of checks. We don't check whether this particular airline is authorized. We don't check whether this the person who's driving the plane, whether that person has got necessary credentials. We don't check any of that. Why do we not check? Because we know that that airline is authorized by the government of India. We are also giving the example of an auto guy, right, which is our everyday experience. We don't check whether the person has license, but we know that this vehicle is authorized by the government of India, and the uniform that that person is wearing is authorized by the government of India. So we place trust on that, and then we get into the auto. Similarly, we get into the flight, and then we cover our normal routine by depending on so many people, but we do place faith on them, right? Is it a blind faith? Prabhupada says here, no, we were not placing blind faith on anybody, right? We are not just going on the road and taking any vehicle and trying to go to a particular place. We are looking for authorized. What is authorized by the government of India? Whether it is a bus or whether it is a train or whether it is an auto, right? They are all authorized and they have a specific schedule. They start at a particular place and they go to a particular place. When we go to the railway station, we know that this particular station will come in this particular platform. It will go to this particular destination at this particular time, etc. So we know where we want to go. We know the process which is authorized, which is given by the Supreme Personality of I hope or you can some of you have your videos on. You can say give me a thumbs down because some internet issues there. I've just connected on my data network here. Yeah. So we don't put our faith blindly on anybody and everybody. Rather, we pick and choose whom we want to place our faith on. Right? We place our faith on Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, and we place our faith on bona fide Guru. We know who is a bona fide Guru from the Shastras, right? Somebody who's coming in the bona fide Guru Parampara. Only such a person we place our trust on. And then Shastra, we don't go by any Shastras. We know Shastra is also divided according to the mode of goodness or passion or ignorance. Right? We want to be at least in the mode of goodness. And we refer to the Shastra, which is also beyond the three modes of material nature, which is transcendental to three modes, which is Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, Prema Pumarto Mahan. Study of Srimad Bhagavatam will actually give us the highest destination possible, which is Krishna Prema. So Guru, Shastra, and who? Sadhu. Sadhu is a person who lives by the principles of Bhagavad Gita, of Bhagavatam, of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Right? These are sadhus, are those our senior devotees who practice those principles and who teach us and help us in various practical situations how we can implement this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in our daily life. Right? So in this way, in this path of perfection, in this book, Srila Prabhupada is describing what is our relationship with the Lord and how do we utilize the process that has been given to us, which is from Shravanam to Atmanivedanam, and what is the ultimate destination? What is the path of perfection? Path refers to the process which is going to take us to that ultimate destination, which is the perfection, which is Goloka Dham. Right? So in this way, this particular chapter, I think a little more is there to cover for us. We will cover that in our tomorrow session. And tomorrow, once we complete this book, The Path of Perfection, then Saturday, we will not have our study session. Sunday, we will, on Ekadashi day, we will be completing we've already completed, it will be completed tomorrow. On Monday or Sunday, which is Ekadashi day, we will be doing the new book, which is The Nectar of Instruction. This will be the 13th book of our study of Srila Prabhupada's books. So by the grace of Guru and Gauranga and by the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, we are able to complete one book after another and hope this endeavor pleases Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So now let us move to our Bhagavad Gita study. So we've been studying the introduction section right from the last 3 days. We've been studying the introductory session. In the introduction, Prabhupada is first starting off with the Mangalacharan prayers. So we all know that it's only by offering our obeisances to Guru that we can understand the transcendental knowledge. Tadviti pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. So the path to understanding the Supreme Lord is by serving and pleasing the spiritual master. How do we do that? Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, by humbly inquiring from a spiritual master and also rendering service to such spiritual master. And then Krishna goes on to say how this knowledge is brought down through the Guru Sishya Parampara. That is the disciplic succession. Right? In this particular chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually talks about this. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarsa yoduhu sakalane hamahata yogo nashtaha parantapa imam vivasvate yogam proktavana hamavyayam vivaswan manave praha manurikshva kavibravit. Like in this way, this knowledge has been given down by me in the process of disciplic succession. But due to the course of time, it was broken. And then I'm giving this knowledge again to you. That's what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. And then Krishna talks about once we study this Bhagavad Gita and we have our relationship with the Lord established, there are 5 kinds of relationships. One is Dasya Rasa, Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Madhurya Rasa, and Sakya Rasa. Sakya Rasa, then comes Vatsalya Rasa, and then Madhurya Rasa. Right? It goes up in terms of the intensity of the relationship. But there is one factor that is common in all the relationships, whether in a passive state or in an active state, or as a friend, or as a parent, or as a conjugal lover. Right? One relationship is very prominent. What is that? The relationship of service to the Supreme Person. Is what is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. And Arjuna declares this after the Chatushloki, wherein Arjuna is saying, you are also saying the same thing, but I've already heard this from the various acharyas, right? Sadhus and gurus. ahustvam rishiye sarve devrishi naradastata asito devalo vyasa swayam cheva bravishme. So you are telling me that you are Purusham, you are Adi Devam, you are Ajam, you are Vibhum, you are unborn, you are the greatest, you are the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you are mentioning all of this. Very nice. But I am also getting to hear the same thing from the Acharyas, from Narada Muni, from Asita, from Devala, from Vyasadeva. And so I completely believe what you are telling me is the absolute truth. And then we went on to see why Krishna chose Arjuna. Arjuna, because Arjuna is a good friend of Lord Shri Krishna. Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord. More importantly, Arjuna is not envious of Krishna. So when we study the Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of a bona fide Guru Parampara, without being envious of the Lord, without being envious of all of the Vaishnavas by whose mercy we are doing practicing Krishna consciousness, then we will arrive at the right conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna arrived at. So what is that conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarve ahameva vedyo vedanta krid veda vid eva chaham. Krishna is saying, I have composed this Bhagavad Gita. These are my words, right? So anybody who studies this Bhagavad Gita ultimately has to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by studying of these various scriptures, we have to understand Krishna. We have to understand Krishna, we have to understand who we are, and then we have to also understand what is our relationship with Krishna. And it all begins by this inquiry, which is Atato Brahma Jignasa. If you are not asking the right question, Atato Brahma Jignasa, but if you are inquiring about all of the other things of this material world, then we are equal to animals, right? Ahara Nidra, Bayamaitunam cha, Samanimekam, Pashubir Samanam, Dharmo Eko Adiko Vishesho, Dharme Nahinam, Pashubir Samanam. If you are not making the right inquiry, then we are equal to two-legged animals, right? And then the specific appearance of Lord Shri Krishna, the purpose is explained by Srila Prabhupada, right? The Lord descends to re-establish the principles of religion and more importantly, to protect the pious, right? The Lord can kill the demons through his external energies also. It is not necessary. The Lord has to personally come. But the Lord comes personally to have this loving relationship with his devotees. And then finally, we studied the 5 subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita. What are the 5 subject matters? Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, Karma, and Jiva. Right? We saw how Ishvara is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who sanctions everything. Prakriti is the material nature, and within Prakriti there are 2 kinds of Prakriti, Jiva Prakriti and Jada Prakriti. And we saw Jiva Prakriti is of a superior nature, and the Jada Prakriti is of the inferior nature, right? We also studied that verse wherein Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita how this superior living entity who is part of Jiva Prakriti is actually trying to exploit the Jada Prakriti. And then we saw what is Kala and then what is Karma. What is Karma? Karma is the only one factor out of these 5 factors or the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita which is changeable. Everything else is eternal. But Karma, now I can choose to change my future destination. My current destination has been determined by my actions and my desires of the past. So how do I change my destination? By changing the way I desire, by changing what I desire, by changing my activities, so that my new goal or my new destination can be arrived at. So whether we are performing karma, whether we are performing sinful activities, or whether we are performing karma, which is we are performing pious activities, we can come to the stage of akarma. That means we perform activities only for the pleasure of the Lord, and because of that we are not bound by sinful reactions. That is karma. And then kala. We saw how the time factor, right? Samay mein, like that we were discussing how, this B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata starts, right? And you all know how this 2 important verses of Bhagavad Gita, but we completely misunderstand that the purpose of Bhagavad Gita itself means just to not be attached to the results. We said that is not the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, right? That is only the starting of the Bhagavad Gita, where we understand that everything is the emanation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, what are the important subject matters of Bhagavad Gita? We understand that everything happens by the will of the Lord, who is Ishvara. And as Jiva, we are parts and parcels of the Lord. What is that? Mameva amsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manasasthanindriyani prakriti sthani karshati. I am a jiva, I am an amsha of the Lord. I have to be happy. Why am I not happy? Because I am identifying myself with the temporary body. Manasastan Indriyani. I am identifying myself with my mind, with my body, and with my senses, and because of that, I am struggling. Karshati in this material world. And Krishna is the origin. Krishna is the source. Aham sarvasya prabhu. Matta sarvam pravartate. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate esa characharam. Right? Krishna tells in several verses of the Bhagavad Gita how Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna is the ultimate sanctioner. Krishna is the ultimate CEO. Krishna is the ultimate what do you call controller. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer, and Krishna is the ultimate owner of everything. That's what we saw about Ishvara and Jiva. And then Prakriti, we saw this verse, Daivi Hayesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So Prakriti or the external energy of the Lord is an energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not that one can easily cross over the three modes of material nature. However, Krishna gives a formula, Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. Right? By surrendering unto me, Krishna says, one can cross over the three modes of material existence. And then karma. By our karma, we can either choose. We have the free will to choose to remain in this material world, or we can choose to go back home, back to Godhead. And then Kala. Everything requires time. It's not that I start chanting 16 rounds and the next minute I should get Krishna Prem. Right? Even the farmer, we were talking about how just now we had this Pongal festival, right? We call it Pongal or the harvest season or Ugadi or whatever different names it's called. Basically represents the harvest season where we get the results, where we get our crops after years. CEO is controller, enjoyer, and the owner of everything. Owner, proprietor of everything. Yeah. So what I was saying. Kala. So Kala represents Krishna represents Kala, right? Krishna is a time factor because everything requires its time to fructify, to give us our results, right? So what we are doing is an endeavor, but by the mercy of the Lord and the passage of time, we will get our desired success, right? That's what we do even while chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's what we understand even in the Yashoda Damodar Leela. Yashoda Maya is running behind Krishna. She is doing her endeavor. But with the passage of time, how Krishna is seeing Mother Yashoda's endeavor. She is endeavoring so much, although she is panting and breathing fast and, she's perspiring, but she is not giving up her endeavor. In this way, when we endeavor with all our heart, with sincerity, then there will be a time when Krishna will become merciful upon us and we will attain our desired success. Like that. All right. So, and then you also saw Mame Vamsha Jivaloki. We saw that we are minute Ishwaras and the Lord is the Supreme Ishvara. And because we have a tendency to lord it over material nature, which is Prakriti, we are situated in this material world. Right? Apareyam itaspanyam Prakritim viti me param Jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. In that way, the Jiva Prakriti is trying to exploit the Jada Prakriti, right? And then finally we saw we have to cross over the three modes of material nature, and it is only possible by the mercy of the Lord. With our endeavor and the Lord's mercy, it will be possible to attain our desired destination, which is Krishna Prema. With that we ended yesterday. All the 5 important subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita were discussed at length. All right. So now Prabhupada is going to talk about what is the distinction between Jiva and Ishvara. So let's start reading. If everybody's want to read, you can raise your hands and then we'll continue. Okay. Anyone wants to read? Okay. Sridhar Prabhu, go ahead. The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvara.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Yes, Prabhu.
The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is the Kesartha Jnana, consciousness as
Kshetrajna. K silent Prabhu. Kshetrajna.
Consciousness.
One whose knowledge of the Kshetra.
Conscious as his living being, but the living being is the conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is a conscious of all bodies because he lives in the heart of every living being. He is a conscious of psychic movement of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara. as the controller, and he is giving direction for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the action and reaction of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we take off and put on clothes. As the soul thus migrates, he suffers the action and reaction of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, in sanity and understanding what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reaction of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items of Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time, and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. The supreme consciousness Ishvara is similar to the living entity in this way. Both the consciousness of the Lord and that of living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that consciousness develops under the certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be preventedly reflected by the covering of material circumstances, just as light reflected through colored glass may appear to be a certain color. But consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti. When we descend into material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our action will be dovetailed in the dovetailed to will of the Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. As ignorant person may see that the devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such person with poor fund of knowledge does not know that activities of the devotee or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendental to the 3 modes of nature. We should know, however, that all these points our consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mother.
Thank you so much.
Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. So in this entire section, we've been studying about how the activity per se, there is no change in the activity. We are not being asked to give up our duty. We are not being asked to give up our dharma. We are not asked to give up our varna or ashrama and go and sit in the forest and do meditation. No, that's not what we are asked to do. Prabhupada is giving us very clearly here, the activities of a devotee and a non-devotee are the same. Right? By non-devotee, I mean somebody who is not yet realized. Otherwise, we are all servants of the Lord. Right? But some of us have forgotten it. Some of us are put into so much illusion because of our previous desires and activities that we cannot understand. Even after hearing from a person, we are not able to understand. Right? We are suffering. All of us are suffering in this material world. But because to the extent of the ignorance that we are covered with, we are not even able to understand. Right? There's an example. If a room is full of darkness, we suddenly step into that room, and then we walk into that room, and then the glass pricks us, and there is a lot of blood in our soul. right? But then we blame the glass. Who put the glass piece there? It struck me, and then I'm having these problems. But problem is not with the glass piece, right? The problem is because we stepped on the glass piece. Why did we step on the glass piece? Because there is a dark. Similarly, when there is ignorance in our heart, then we perform activities that is going to cause us more suffering. That is going to bind us in this material world. But then what do? Instead of removing the darkness of ignorance that is there in our heart, what do we try to do? We try to blame the external circumstances. Just like we blame the glass pieces on the floor for causing injury to our feet. We are not thinking of how do we enlighten, or how do we put light in the room so that we can see what is there and then act accordingly. Similarly, we are not enlightening ourselves by the study of the Vedic scriptures, but rather what are we doing? We are just doing whatever our mind tells us to do, and then we are getting ourselves entangled more and more. We are suffering more and more in this material world. But then what are we saying? We are blaming other people around us, or this person is trying to control me, this person is trying to do damage to me. But who is doing the maximum damage? We are doing maximum damage to ourselves because we are acting in ignorance. So that the activity is the same, right? Both the people go into the room. It is just that one person is going into the room in bright light and the other person is going into the room when it is full of darkness. One person is able to carefully avoid the glass pieces, get his purpose done and come out of the room. The other person, because there is no light, what does he do? He goes and then he does not know why something is pricking him, blood is pouring out. He does not know what to do. He is frustrated and he is just simply yelling, crying and complaining. So are we like that person who is going in and going proper lights on, or are we like the person who is going in complete darkness? Right? It depends on how much of Shastra we know. Right? Yaha Shastra vidmutsrijya vartate kamakartaha nasa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na paramgati. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, right? Performs activities according to his own mind, his own whimsical mind, whatever the mind dictates to him. Such a person will not get happiness in this world. Such a person will not attain the perfection of the spiritual world also. And because such a person is binding himself, becoming more and more materially contaminated, becoming more and more entangled in the complexities of the material nature. So it is not about what activity we are doing, but it is about what is the consciousness in which we are doing that particular activity. Is our consciousness pure? What does consciousness pure mean? What is the objective of us performing that particular action? If our objective is to serve the Lord, then we are performing a karma. That means we are not going to be entangled in this material world. But if the consciousness is to enjoy sense gratification, then depending on whether it is weak karma or karma, we will get positive, we'll get negative or positive reactions, both of which will mean we have to get a body in this material world. We are not even sure what kind of body in this material world, right? Depends on our actions and our consciousness, right? What is this term conditioned living entities? Prabhupada is going to explain that in the next paragraph. Conditioned living entities means we are conditioned by our mind to think. Red glasses, you will see everything red. If you wear yellow glasses, you will see everything yellow. Right? Outside world may be different color altogether, but how we see depends on our perception of things. And how do we see things? According to our knowledge. And what is the knowledge that we have? It depends on what is the source of our knowledge. If you're simply happy acquiring a chartered accountancy degree or a medical degree or an engineering degree, those degrees are not going to help us go back to the spiritual world. Those degrees will make us proud or will make us do activities in this material world that will entangle us further. But a proper balance of both the knowledge, right? In Ishopanishad, I guess. In Ishopanishad, it is given how one needs to cultivate vidya and avidya. Both are necessary, because what is avidya? Avidya is knowledge of this material world. Now we need that vidya also, we need that knowledge also, so that we know how to live in this world. But we are more interested in vidya. Vidya means actual transcendental knowledge, which will help us transcend the three modes of material nature and come back to Godhead. Basically, the vidya that we acquire through the bona fide Guru Parampara should give us Vinaya. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Cheva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. If the Vidya that we acquire does not bring about Vinaya, Vinaya means humility. If the knowledge that we acquire does not bring about humility in our heart, then it is useless knowledge. Why? It can help us in this material world to achieve certain things, maybe which are very temporary, and sometimes which it will be taken off as soon as we get it, right? But that vidya which will increase our vinaya, that which does not increase the weight of our head, but it increases the weight of our heart. What is that? The humility of our heart. That vidya will enable us to see every living entity as part and parcel of the Lord, and thereby also understanding that I am also a part and parcel of the Lord, just like this and this and this person is. So that exploitative mentality is removed, and in that place, seva vritti comes into place. Bhoga vritti leads to seva vritti. And how does this transition of ego or the transition of consciousness takes place? By the study of the scriptures under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, and by living in the association of sadhus who are willing to practice this knowledge for their own ultimate benefit of going back home, back to Godhead, or reviving our lost relationship with Krishna. Right? All right. Let's move ahead. Jai Moti Mataji, please go ahead. When we are materially contaminated.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness exhibited under the impression that I am a product of the material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of the bodily conception cannot understand a situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life. And Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti or liberation means freedom from the material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, the definition of the liberation is given. Muktir Muktim yata rupa
Swarupena
vyavastitihi. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of the material world and situation in pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are a part and parcel of the Lord. But for us, there is an affinity of being affected by the inferior modes. But the Lord, being the Supreme, is never affected. That
okay, did we skip?
That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the small individual souls.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So here, a very important point given by Prabhupada. What is purified consciousness and what is conditioned state? Conditioned means we are conditioned by the three modes of material nature. Right? We say there's an important verse of Bhagavad Gita. Rajo Guna, what is that? Sthitam Sattve Prasidati. Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava Kama Lobhatayasche Chetyetya Ranavrittam Stitvam Sattva Prasidati. Right? That means Prabhupada is actually also mentioning about this in the Markine Bhagavata. When he actually sings this song of Markine Bhagavata, when he goes in the Jaladuta to the Western world, that time he quotes some verses from Bhagavatam also as part of the Markine Bhagavata, wherein he is saying, Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava Kama Lobha Dayasche. That means currently we are all lusty, we are all passionate, and we are all ignorant. And we are entwined in this material world by these three chains that we spoke about yesterday: the golden chain, the silver chain, and the copper chain. Because of that, what do we think? I'm bound by a golden rope. I'm supposed to be higher than the person who's bound by the silver rope. Isn't it foolishness? We're all bound, but we think that we are better off than the other person who's also bound, maybe by a silver thread or by a copper thread or by a golden thread also. But because we are in the bodily conception of life, we always try to see how I am better than the other person. And this is material consciousness. So if you have to move from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness, we need to understand that we are servants, right? And then what does that mean? Freedom from material consciousness. The word is called the mukti. Mukti or liberation. Most of the time, this word is misunderstood, right? Some people think mukti means to merge with the Brahman. Some people think that mukti means is to get a form like that of the Lord, or to live in the loka of the Lord, or to get the opulences of the Lord, or to live in closeness with the Lord, right? We have these 5 kinds of liberation that most of the times we associate mukti with that. What is that? Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, and Sarshti. Right? Out of this, it is said that a devotee will not accept Sayujya Mukti, which means merging with the Supreme Lord. Why a devotee will not accept that? A devotee will not accept that kind of Sayujya Mukti because a devotee does not want to lose his identity. A devotee will never lose his identity, or any living entity for that matter will never lose an identity. Right? Always the separate identity is there between the lover and the loved. Between the servitor and the served, there is always 2 different identity, right? Prabhupada explains this in as early as in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein Prabhupada is talking about a green bird goes and sits in a green tree. So a person who is looking, he may find that, oh, the bird and the tree have merged. There is no identity, right? But someone who goes inside and sees will clearly see that the green bird is eating the fruits of the tree, is trying to, is having its entire family there in the tree, right? But from an outside person who does not have a clear picture, what does he see? He sees that the green bird and the green tree have merged together, right? But always the identity of the living entity and that of the Supreme Lord is always there. So what is the correct definition of mukti? It is not Sarupya Mukti, it is not Sayujya Mukti, it is not Salukya Mukti, it is not Sarupya Mukti, it is not Samipya Mukti. It is not, all of this is not actual mukti. What is mukti? Prabhupada defines it here. Mukti hitvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Mukti means to be situated in pure consciousness. That means swarupena vyavastitihi. Swarupa siddhi. Swarupa siddhi means what is my constitutional position? What is my constitutional position? Jivera swarupohe krishnera nityadas. So according to the instructions of the Lord, when I work in the mode of a servant of the Lord, that is my Swarupa Siddhi. That is my actual consciousness. Right? Mukti hitvan yata rupam. Yata rupam. That is yata rupam we say na Bhagavad Gita. Right? As it is. Right? What is our consciousness? Our consciousness, original consciousness, is to become the servant Krishna. Okay. Thank you, Shobha Mataji. Because of the internet connection, I lost the host status, and then Mataji became the host. Okay, so we were just discussing here because the line may, if it gets disconnected again, then we'll end the session. But for now, we will just continue. So, so here, what were we discussing? Yeah. So, what is the difference between being conditioned and being liberated? Right? We were discussing the difference between a conditioned living entity and a liberated living entity. Who's a conditioned living entity? Who's conditioned by the three modes of material nature? And how does one transcend oneself from the conditioned state? Is by service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, understanding one's constitutional position as the servant of the Lord. Yeah, so in this way we understood this, right? So what is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the individual souls? Is that the Supreme Lord is never affected by the inferior modes, right? We come to the modes of the three modes of material nature, but the Lord is always transcendental to the three modes of material nature. So Krishna says, Mameva ye prapadyante maya mitam tarantite. One who surrenders unto me will be able to cross over the three modes of material existence, right? So the energetic is always superior to the energy, because the energetic is the one who's possessing the energy, right? This Mahamaya or this Yoga Maya, they're all energies of the Supreme Lord. So the never can be a situation when the Supreme Lord can be covered over by his own energy. That's not possible, right? Even in this material world, whatever energy we possess, it is under my control, how I want to utilize my energy, like that, right? So in this way, whatever is the energy that is possessed by the Lord, it's under the control of the Lord. Not that the energy is able to control the Lord. That's not possible. But the energy of the Lord is able to control us, because we are amshas of the Lord. We are parts and parcels of the Lord. So in this way, we are controlled by the energy of the Lord, but the Lord himself is not controlled by the energy of the, by his own energy. The Lord is not controlled by his own energy, whereas the living entity is controlled by the energy of the Lord. That is why we are all infinitesimal living entities. We cannot control or cross over Maya, but the Lord is always superior to the Maya, or this is external energy, like that. That's what is mentioned here. All right, let's quickly move ahead. What is this? Consciousness. Okay, so what is this consciousness? Okay, Priyanka Mataji, go ahead. What is this consciousness?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
What is this consciousness? This consciousness is I am. Then what am I? In contaminated consciousness, I am means I am the Lord of all, I survey. I'm the enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two physic divisions. One is that I'm the creator, and the other is that I'm the enjoyer. But actually, the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer, and the living entity. Being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator. He's the created and the enjoyed. For instance, a part of a machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hand, legs, eyes, and so on are all parts of the body, but they are not actually the enjoyers. The stomach is the enjoyer. The leg moves, the hand supplies food, the teeth chew, and all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is the principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to the stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering its roots, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if the body is to be kept in a healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and the creator, and we, as the subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by the stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hand think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of creation and of enjoyment is of Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. By cooperation, they enjoy. The relation is also like that of the master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied. Although the The tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in the living entities, because these tendencies are there in Supreme Lord who has created the manifested cosmic world.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Hari Bol. So here, a very, very important point this is, right? As long as we are cooperating with our master, who is the Supreme Lord, we can also enjoy. It is not that we should not enjoy. We should take unnecessary austerity and always be in the suffering mode. No, Krishna does not say that. Right? We are all Anandamaya Abhyasar. We are all practicing at all times to become happy. We are part and parcel of that Supreme Blissful Lord. So why is it that we ever need to be unhappy? We are unhappy because we are identifying ourselves with the mind. Because of the wrong identification, we are unhappy. But we are all happy, rightful heirs to becoming actually happy, to be actually blissful, because we are part and parcel of the blissful Lord. So that is why Krishna is continuously coming and telling us, right? This is not the world where you belong, right? Come back to that world where you can enjoy transcendental freedom, where you can enjoy transcendental bliss. But we are stuck to this world. Right, Prabhupada in one of his lectures gives an example of a driver of a car. Right, there is a big millionaire who's seated in the seated behind, and this driver is simply driving the car. But he also gets the same benefit of the AC. Right, the AC is on. There is nice music being played in the car. Right, does the owner ask him to put cotton in his ears? He should not hear the music, or that particular area of the car he should not get the AC. No, he is also getting the same amount of AC. His owner getting better facility because his owner in the same car, whatever AC facility is there, driver is also getting the same thing, and the owner is also getting the same thing, isn't it? Similarly, whatever music is played, both of them are enjoying equally, right? This enjoyment is possible until the driver cooperates with the owner. The owner is saying, okay, go to the factory. The driver goes, he wants to go to his home. I saying, no, I'm not driving to the factory. I want to go home. He turns the car right and goes to his home. What happens? The owner, will make him get down, and then he says, okay, you want to go to your house? Take an auto and go. So what has he lost? He lost the AC, he lost the lovely music, and he also lost his relationship with the master, isn't it? It's a very crude example, but this is what we are doing with the Supreme Lord. The Lord is telling us to do certain things. We are part and parcel of the Lord. We are servants of the Lord. We know it all. Like the driver also knows, I'm the servant of the master, I have to go. It's like, when we come back from somewhere, we ask for an auto. The auto always tells, mujhe nahi jana hai wahan pe, mujhe yahan jana hai. Right? You want to go to Kandivali East, you will say, I don't want to go there. I want to go to, Kandivali West. As if I will go to his place, isn't it? If he wants to come, he has to come to my place. Right? We have all become like this. We want to do things according to our own way, because we've forgotten that we are servant of the Supreme Lord. The driver has forgotten that I am supposed to go where the owner wants me to take him. Right? Until such time, I enjoy all the facilities. But the minute I tell that I will do things my way, I will go where I want. Then the master will say, okay, you get down and then you do whatever you want. And then, we suffer, we fall down, we do all those nonsensical things, and then we come back to the master saying, I'm so sorry, I will obey your orders, and now please give me back the responsibility of serving you as a driver. Right? But sometimes even when we lose everything, we don't realize the value. And because of that conditioning, life after life, we think that this is only our position. We forget that we are ways of enjoying, and then we get into this more and more of this entanglement to that point that we don't know that whom we have to go and tell that I surrender unto you. Yeah. Okay. Again, the internet connection is getting unstable. Okay. I don't know if it gets cut now, then we will end. Then tomorrow we will meet again. Yeah. Okay. So let's move ahead. Let's start reading further. Leelanjani Mataji, go ahead. You shall find, therefore.
We shall find, therefore, in this Bhagavad Gita that the complete whole is comprised of the supreme controller, the controlled living entities, the cosmic manifestation, eternal time, and karma, or activities, and all of this are explained in this test. All of this taken completely from the absolute complete whole, and the complete whole is called the supreme absolute truth. The complete whole and the complete absolute truth are the complete personality of God Sri Krishna. All manifestations are due to his different energies. He is the complete whole. It is explained in the Gita that impersonal Brahman is also subordinate to the complete Supreme Person. Brahmano hi pradhisthana aham. Brahman is more explicitly explained in the Brahma Sutra to be like the rays of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahman is the shining rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is incomplete realization of the absolute whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma. In the 15th chapter, it shall be seen that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, is above both impersonal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Sachidananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in this way. Where it is, Mataji? Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause and he is the very form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat, that is eternity feature. Paramatma realization is the realization of Sat Chit, that is eternal knowledge, but realization of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is realization of all the transcendental features, Sat, Chit and Ananda, eternity, knowledge and bliss in complete Vigraha form. People with less intelligence consider the absolute truth to be impersonal, but he is a transcendental person, and this is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Nityo Nityanam Chedanas Chedanam, Kathopanishad 2.2.13. And as we are all individual living beings and have our individuality, the supreme absolute truth is also in the ultimate issue a person, and realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of all the transcendental features in its complete form. The complete whole is not formless. If he is formless, or if he is less than any other living thing, then he cannot be the complete whole. The complete whole must have everything within our experience and beyond our experience, otherwise it cannot be complete. The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potencies. Paras is Shaktir Vividheva Shruyade. How Krishna is acting in different potencies is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. The phenomenal world or material world in which we are placed is also complete in itself, because the 24-hour elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation according to Sankhya philosophy are completely adjusted to produce complete resources which are necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. There is nothing extraneous, nor is there anything needed. This manifestation
has its own time.
And this manifestation has its own time fixed by the energy of the supreme whole, and when the time is complete, then this temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. There is complete facility for the small complete units, namely the living entities, to realize the complete, and all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete. So Bhagavad Gita contains the complete knowledge of Vedic wisdom. All Vedic knowledge
Hare
is
Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you for reading the tongue twister very nicely. Complete, incomplete. Right? There is this verse, Ishavasyam, it talks about, Ishopanishad talks about Om Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudarchate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vasishyate. That means the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all complete. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudarchate. That means the Supreme Personality of Godhead is complete. All of his creations are also complete. And all those created units are also complete. And after having created all those complete units, what is remaining is also complete. Right? So the entire creation, maintenance, and destruction of this material world are completely arranged very beautifully by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyitesu Characharam. Right? Ahetu Nanena Kaunteya Jagad Vipari Vartate. Right? The entire cosmic manifestation is being run by the perfect arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not necessary that the Lord has to personally come. Right? I've seen in the Atlas book, if you see, when we studied, there'll be a big man holding the globe like that with so much weight. Like that, actually, when Prabhupada asked someone to draw the picture of Krishna, that's what they drew first. Because Krishna having a lot of muscles. Why? Because Krishna has to be so powerful. He has to carry the entire world on his back like that. But Prabhupada told that Krishna need not be so muscular to be able to do that, right? Because Krishna has got all of the Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasya, Shriya, Jnana, Vairagyasya, Sanna, Bhaga, Itingana. Krishna is most handsome. Krishna is very beautiful. Krishna is very knowledgeable. Krishna is the Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Balam balavatam chaham, right? He says, I am the strength of the strong. So Krishna maintains everything. Krishna destroys everything. Krishna creates everything. But this complete arrangement of Krishna is not easy for every one of us to understand, right? We all think that if somebody is in charge of something, means it must be really hardworking. It must be putting their heart, mind, and soul and work. That is true for all of our living entities. That is not true for the Lord. The Lord, simply by thinking that something has to manifest, that thing automatically manifests. But yet he employs people to do his work. Why? Because there is a bliss in this loving exchange of relationships. There is bliss in this exchange of service between the Lord and his devotee. So everything is completely arranged by the Lord. That's why Krishna tells Arjuna, right? I have already killed all of them, right? You just become an instrument in my hands and just kill them. But they have already been killed, right? What is that? What is that? Instrument. Just become an instrument in my hands. Bhavasabhya Shachin. What is that? In a verse of the Nimitta Matram. Bhavasabhya Shachin. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so just become an instrument in my hands. That is what Krishna is telling. So that is what Prabhupada is also telling here. Right? The Lord has arranged everything. The Lord is complete. The Lord is not in need of our service. But we need to become instruments in the Lord's hands to serve him and please him. And in this way, our lives only will get blissful like that. Okay, so let's move forward. Who will read now? Now Kishori Mataji, go ahead. On Vedic knowledge.
Thank you. All Vedic knowledge is infallible, and Hindus accept Vedic knowledge to be complete and infallible. For example, cow dung is the stool of an animal, and according to Smriti or Vedic injunction, if one touches the stool of an animal, he has to take a bath or to purify himself. But in the Vedic scripture, cow dung is considered to be a purifying agent. One might consider it to be contradictory, but it is accepted because it is Vedic injunction, and it indeed by accepting this one will not commit a mistake. Subsequently, it has been proved by modern science that cow dung contains all antiseptic properties. So Vedic knowledge is complete because it is above all doubts and mistakes, and Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. We have to accept perfect knowledge which comes down as is stated in Bhagavad Gita by the Parampara displication. We have to receive knowledge from the proper source in displication, beginning with the Supreme spiritual master, the Lord himself, and handed down to a succession of spiritual masters. Arjuna, the students who took lessons from Lord Shri Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portion of Bhagavad Gita and not another. No, we must accept one portion of we must accept Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental sources, and the first word were spoken by the Lord himself. The word spoken by the Lord are called Purushaya, meaning that they from word spoken by a person of the mundane world who is infected with four defects. Mundane is sure to commit mistakes, is unvariably illusioned, has a tendency to cheat others, and fourth is limited by imperfect senses. With these four imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all pervading knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think, okay, fine. We'll stop here. So here, Prabhupada is talking about the four defects of the human being. What are those four defects? One is we have imperfect senses. The other day we were discussing how we cannot even see our own hand if there is not adequate sunlight. In the darkness, we cannot see. We don't know where we are, what we are doing. We also saw the example of how there are glasses on the floor. And if it is dark, we don't know. We just walk across and then we hurt ourselves. So we should always be illuminated by the transcendental knowledge, by the lamp of knowledge. That's why we always say, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The Guru actually lights the lamp of transcendental knowledge in our heart. He gives us the discriminating ability to know what is right, what is wrong. And this is the power of knowledge, transcendental knowledge, which is like a light, which eradicates all the darkness in the mind, just like light eradicates the darkness in a room. But currently, what is it that the material body that we have, we are suffering from imperfect senses. Then we are in illusion. If somebody asks, who are you? I will say, I'm Meera, I'm Meghamini Saki, right? I'm identifying myself with my body. I'll say, I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a lady, I'm a mother of 2 daughters. Why? All that is illusion. Why? Because what is my actual position? What is my actual role? It is Jivera Swarupe Krishna Nityadas. I'm an eternal servant of the Lord, but I'm always illusioned to identify myself according to the body that I have got. So I'm always in illusion. I have imperfect senses, and then I always have the tendency to commit mistakes. Right? Prabhupada gives the example of how sometimes we mistake the rope to be a snake to be a rope. And then suddenly we jump. Oh my God, I just saw a snake here. Later on we find it just a snake. And sometimes an actual snake might be there. We might think it is a rope. Right? We know that Bilva Mangal Thakur's story. Right? Where he goes to meet Chintamani. And then he actually climbs up a snake, which he thinks is a rope. Just illusion that he wanted to see his beloved. So in this way, because we have lack of knowledge, we mistake one thing for another. And that is why we always put into illusion. And then we have imperfect senses, and then we have a tendency to commit mistakes, and then finally we also have the propensity to cheat. Most of the times when we cannot do something also, we artificially put forward a facade that I am able to do everything. You know, that confidence. They say you look confident in this material world. That is always they say. You look confident and you feel confident, and then everything will be okay. Right? What are we showing? We're only showing to the external world. While inside we are very, very jittery because we don't want the world to know our real face and our real thoughts. And that's why we always put on this facade, which is the cheating propensity. So because of these 4 imperfections or the defects that a human being has, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Vedas or the Vedic texts simply by speculating or by the ascending method. What is it? Ascending method? You know, this is not, it cannot be this, it cannot be this. You know, logically trying to understand the Vedas. We cannot understand the Vedas by our material intelligence. That is why we have to simply rely on the Shabda process. We don't rely on the Pramana. We don't rely on the what is that called? The Pratyaksha Praman, or what is that? Anumana Praman. We don't rely on Pratyaksha and Anumana Praman. Why? Because Pratyaksha means because of imperfect senses we cannot see things as they are. So we cannot rely on what we see. And Anumana Praman is making assumptions. Right? What is that assumptions? Those assumptions are characterized by our mind, whatever our mind is thinking. So with our mind, we think all sorts of nonsensical things. We cannot arrive at a theory when our starting step itself is wrong. But what is the process of understanding this transcendental knowledge? That is by Shabda Praman. That means by hearing from a person who's already realized the transcendental truth, we will understand the words spoken by the Lord. Why? Because the Lord is a Paurusheya. The Lord is beyond the 4 transcendental defects. The Lord is perfect. So we can understand such perfect knowledge from the perfect Lord only by the process of Shabda Praman, or by understanding from a person who's already understood these subject matters. All right. So with this, we will end today's session and we will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow we will try to, I think mostly we'll complete the introduction section tomorrow. Saturday, we will meet only for Brahma Muhurta session at 5 a.m. And then Sunday, we will meet, which is Ekadashi Tithi. And on Sunday, we will do, like Radheshyam Prabhu has mentioned the schedule. So what we will do is 108 verses with the translation, and we'll discuss something around it. And then we will sing Vaishnava Bhajan. We will sing this Shuddha Bhakrata Charana Renu, because that gives the glories of Ekadashi. Or we'll sing some other song, because we sang that last Ekadashi, and we can sing the meaning of the song. And then we will start our new book, our 13th book, which is Nectar of Instruction. So I will mention the time in our group. So mostly it will be a 3-hour session, 2.5 to 3 hour session. So mostly I think it will be from 11 to 2 in all probability. We'll see what time we will have it on Sunday. And then we will do this, we'll do one round of congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and also do Harinam Sankirtan. So that's a plan for upcoming Sunday. And then Monday onwards, we'll start with Bhagavad Gita chapter number 1. And also Nectar of Instruction, we will start with the preface and then introduction, and then we go ahead like that. So we'll do Harinam Sankirtan now, and then we will end our session. And if anyone has any queries or any realizations, you can share. Say we'll take about 2 to 5 minutes of that after the Kirtan. Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Astratyadi Shodharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Radha Madhav Jai Shri Radha Madhav Jai Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Harinam Sankirtan ki jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining in. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's see who are all there. Everyone can unmute themselves now, and any questions, queries, realizations, everything can be shared right now. Yes.
Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Who's
Hare
speaking?
Krishna. Monimala Mataji, Mataji.
Yes,
Monimala
Mataji.
Mataji.
Nice.
Mat-
We can see you.
Mata-
Nice.
Mataji,
If-
please tell me about Sarupa Siddhi. I can Sarupa Siddhi, Mataji.
So Swarupa Siddhi means what is our constitutional position, right? We saw we can have 5 kinds of rasas with the Lord, either as a Shanta rasa or Dasya rasa or Vatsalya rasa, Sakya rasa, Vatsalya rasa or Madhurya rasa. It will be revealed to us when we perfect our process of sadhana, when we become Raganuga Bhaktas. That means spontaneous loving devotional service. Then automatically that rasa will manifest in our heart. How we want to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So that is Swarupa Siddhi. But until we realize the Swarupa Siddhi, we can always render service to the Lord as a servant of the Lord. Dasya Bhav is prevalent in all of the rasas. So right now we serve as a servant of the Lord, and then the Lord, whenever He is merciful, whenever He becomes pleased by our execution of devotional service, when the Lord is pleased by our devotional service, the Lord will reveal our Swarupa Siddhi or our constitutional position. Okay, Mataji? Right now, our constitutional position is Jivera Swarupa He Krishnera Nityadas, eternal servant of the Lord. Okay?
Thank you, Mataji. Thanks a lot. Hari bol.
All right. Anyone else has any query? Nectar of instruction we will start nectar of instruction on Sunday, which is Ekadashi. Probably we'll start with the preface. It's a short preface is there by Srila Prabhupada. So we'll do that preface, and then from Monday we will start with introduction to nectar of instruction. And then we will continue with chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah? Okay. Anything else? Okay, fine. Thank you very much for joining in. Sorry for that disturbance in between because of the network connection. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.